Gosh, the left is just so catty. Who do they go to when they try and find dirt on or make you dislike someone? Ex-employees and ex-girlfriends. That's what they did with Pete Hegseth. That's what they do with Donald Trump. Look, this person left. Yeah, maybe they were fired with cause.
Yeah.
This person doesn't work with them. Maybe he's a former employee for a reason. His ex-girlfriend, maybe she's an ex for a reason. Why do you think the left is going so hard on Pete Hegseth?
Okay. Even Chucky hates Pete Hegseth.
Well, she's part of the left now. It's fine.
Yeah. Well,
foreshadowing.
And I also want you to also, hey, who are they going after really hard and who are they not? Notice they're not really going after, for example, Pam Bondi all that hard. And I don't hate Pam Bondi, but when we were covering the confirmations, I was like, I don't really want to cover it because I'm not super enthusiastic. I'm cautiously.
I'm cautious.
I wouldn't even say cautiously. Yeah, exactly. I'm prepared for the disappointing, but hoping for the best. Pete Hegseth, they have been on like a dog on a bone. The left is really going in hard on Pete Hegseth. According to them, he's incompetent, he's a danger, a liability, and everything Pete Hegseth must go, go, go.
It didn't take an investigative mind like Bob Woodward's to know that Pete Hegseth, as Secretary of Defense, might be slightly problematic.
Pete Hegseth finds himself under renewed scrutiny for his handling of sensitive information.
Before running the U.S. military, he was a weekend morning show host on Fox News with a reputation for going years without washing his hands, which, by the way, is his admission, just to make it even weirder.
And the now confirmed second signal chat raising more than a few eyebrows in Washington about Hegseth's aptitude and maturity when it comes to this job.
And making him look so cool. Hosts, obviously, even ones who get a little crazy on New Year's Eve, you can see there. It's not a job that exactly prepares you to run the Pentagon as your next step.
The Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was involved in a second signal group chat.
There were also the countless allegations of Hegseth drinking on the job, both at veterans organizations and at Fox News.
The New York Times has new reporting on the most unqualified and incompetent defense secretary in history.
The New Yorker reported he once got so drunk that he had to be restrained from getting on a stage at a Louisiana strip club.
But that just sounds like a fun guy.
Yeah, you're making me like the guy more.
This just in, the New Yorker reports on something in Louisiana.
Yeah, exactly.
For the first time.
By the way, all these
it's probably really true. They got their ear to the ground there in Bayou.
All these experts, they always used to say, I think it was James Carville who used to say, people vote on who they would most, as far as president, who they would most like to have a beer with. So here, let me present to you the man you would clearly most like to have a beer with. They hate him because he's unapologetically Christian, pro-Western civilization, pro-America, and above all else, for the same reason they hate Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, as he made some missteps, sure, but he's following through on his promises, which is more than you can say for a lot of people, unfortunately, in this administration. Not all of them. Some have been great. Some have been a disappointment. Hegseth is top tier. So let's go through the reasons they're really attacking him. Reason number one, he has directly, in a measurable, in a quantifiable way, increased morale in the military. So let's go back to Hegseth then, where he laid out the problems before he was in his position. We had problems with recruiting, and he said, look, we have this problem that we have to identify, and we need to figure out a solution. This is him then we'll get to the solution and the results.
Whatever the combat standards were, say, in, 1995, let's just make those the standards. And as far as recruiting, to hire the guy that, did Top Gun Maverick and create some real ads that motivate people to want to serve. And there's lots of other ways in which you could identify who gets promoted and what, but there's an ethos change. There's a reason people don't want to serve, because they don't trust that their senior leaders are going to have their best interest in mind in combat.
So, is there anything to show for it? Made a promise? Identified a problem? Well, January 2025 was the Army's best recruiting month in 15 years. And right now, to date, this year, the Army is 20% ahead of last year's recruiting goal, their pace. That's a pretty significant number year to year. Promise fulfilled.
Yep. And he's absolutely right in the first video, too.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right. People, when they join the military, they want to know that the person in charge of them knows what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
They want to go, they got good woke policies. They got good sense of mind. No, they want to know that their team leader knows how to operate a 50 cal.
Right. Yeah, what
they want to know that their team leader can pull them out of the middle of a village when they get hit in the leg.
Right. Yeah, they're not going, hold on a second, how many bipolar air traffic controllers do you have?
If he's gay, great. If he's not, great. Can you pull me out of a village?
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's all I give a shit about.
Who's leading this? Would it be squad?
Squad,
who's leading this
team,
squad? Does she have two mommies? Because that's a deal breaker. That's me, Mr. Old Fashioned. We're going to send you over to Tim Pool, people who are not Rumble Premium members, but continue with this. Reason number 2, Hegseth is destroying DEI, which has been a cancer in the military. Let's go back to Pete Hegseth, then where he laid out the problem that DEI was crippling the United States military.
You guys end up fighting not just on the battlefield, but inside the military.
No doubt, inside our ranks. I mean, it's one thing to have DEI inside your corporation or inside your university. It's a whole other thing to have it inside the 101st Airborne. You can move to a different state if you want to go to a different school or if you want a different tax rate. We only have one military. And if the military goes woke, then it is less equipped to fight the wars it needs to fight.
That's exactly right. Look, DEI has bad, it can only be bad. Ensuring outcomes can only have worse results than ensuring equal opportunity and letting excellency determine the outcomes. Now, in the corporate world, it's always a net negative. It's never a net positive. Mm-hmm. In the military, DEI can be absolutely catastrophic because you've added bullets. And you're trying to ensure equal outcomes, whereas some people are naturally better at flinging bullets downrange. I get that's a gross oversimplification.
Or you don't have bullets.
Right.
You know, you spend so much time. I mean, even when I got out in 2016, so it wasn't as bad as it was in the last few years. But even when I got out, we had to do all these different, training days. We would stop everything we did. We went and go do equal opportunity. That's what they call it. EO, equal opportunity training. We had to do that like once every few months.
Oh my God.
It was ridiculous. And it was like, well, we wanted to go shoot.
Well, hold on.
Well, we needed to do the equal opportunity, but our job is to shoot.
Careful now, that's your patriarchy showing.
I'm an infantryman. We shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to shoot. Well, there's always, shooting more is always better.
Yeah, no, but you're going to want to come listen to this Afro-lesbian who doesn't shave her pits. Trust me, it's going to be good for you.
We do have the time to shoot, but we don't have the money for the bullets because we spent it on this.
Yeah, exactly.
We spent it on this training. We spent it on this person, this civilian contractor who has to be our rep to give training to everybody in the brigade. We don't have the amount of money for the bullets. We spent all of our budget on, and we're out there going, literally, dude, we did this. The last few years I was in the military, pew, 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 bang, bang, bang. Why are we here? I have a fucking gun and I'm going bang, bang, bang?
Look, I know you wanted some more 5.56 rounds, and I hear you, but may I present to you our sequential hermaphrodite, who's here to tell you about single origin coffee?
And it's not even in the media. Pete Hegseth does a pretty good job at breaking it down, but the media doesn't talk about enough.
No,
what it actually is. People go, "Oh, you're mad because your platoon sergeant's black." No. That's not the problem. No, the problem is because you spent all the money on other shit.
Yeah. No.
Because my black platoon sergeant, who's fully qualified and great at his job, can't do his job.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They want you to think that it's an episode of Roots in the military when really now it's an episode of The Birdcage, and we're like, hey, this isn't most effective for killing. Which brings us to Hegseth now. Okay, he identified the problem. He campaigned. Obviously he wasn't someone who was nationally elected, but he was up for the job. He was someone speaking out saying, this is the problem. Okay, DEI, we need to do something about it. Let's go to Hegseth. Now, he has already effectively gutted DEI at the Pentagon.
We will have the best and brightest in every position possible. As you said in your inaugural, it is
they won't all have his hair
and merit-based. The best leaders possible, whether it's flying Black Hawks and flying airplanes, leading platoons, or in government. The era of DEI is gone at the Defense Department. And we need the best and brightest, whether it's in our air traffic control, or whether it's in our generals, or whether it's throughout government.
So let me give you some specifics here. References always available. All of his actions included banning race and sex consideration for promotions. The Navy removed over 400 DEI books. There was a transgender ban from the military. In with new Black Hawks, out with fake black cocks. Reason number 3.
We want real black cock.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
We're back to actual helicopters, not just RuPaul going.
Oh, God. Hold on. Before we move on to number 4.
Yeah?
I think accountability is important.
I know you've done the helicopter. I've spoken with your wife.
If I could, I would.
I don't do the helicopter. I perfected the helicopter. This is an art form. No, but I think accountability is very important, and the best and brightest. And when they make a mistake, they should be called on it. When Tim played the Chucky at the beginning, I think he needs to be admonished for that.
Why?
Okay. No, I'm not even.
Oh, is that it? I thought there was
That's it.
I'm going to admonish myself because I'm not a bitch.
Admonish yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Took it right on the Sylvester Stallone lookalike chin.
And I noticed you didn't do it until you were told to. Yeah, so that makes you really a real leader.
Hey, I don't run the show. I'm just an accessory here, Gerald.
I don't. You know what? I'm the one who should say that he should admonish himself. I feel like you're mounting a mutiny.
There's a little bit of a battle going on here. Tim's just looking for a reason.
Gerald controlling the show deserves a admonishment.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, Shmee.
I told you this is what's happening. Don't try and stop me, Shmee. Shmee, try and stop me. Mr. Shmee, what are you doing?
I see you, Tim.
One of you doubted me. Which was it? Was it you? The boo box.
Still have nightmares about that. Thanks, Spielberg.
Yeah.
Reason number 3 that they're going after Hegseth, and another promise delivered. He was and still is hyperly focused on China. Not Russia, Ukraine, China. So back then, he was very clear that China was our biggest strategic threat, and it wasn't even close.
In the past X number of years, 10, 12, 15, the Pentagon has a perfect record in all of its war games against China. We lose every time inside the Pentagon war games.
Hold on a second, pause.
We know
We're going to restart this clip. Did you hear my burp on Josh's microphone?
I definitely
I have fizzy water in here.
It was a good one.
It was one of those that was building up. Just so you know, I have water and I have because the fizzy water kind of clears the palate. And this was like one of those things where when I was talking, I was going, and I hit the mute button. And I feel like I still heard it. So,
oh, yeah.
I apologize.
No, don't. They deserve it.
This Hegseth clip, it just goes with this. I just all of a sudden have been gassier once I have this Fu Manchu. Let's rerun the clip from the beginning. Giving
it's a belchy face.
Without a belch.
Yes.
There you go.
In the past X number of years, 10, 12, 15, the Pentagon has a perfect record in all of its war games against China. We lose every time.
That's scary.
Inside the Pentagon war games.
The only way to win is not to pray.
We know what our real capability. You see, we didn't even get to this part of the war on warriors. I mean, the military-industrial complex, the way we procure weapon systems. We're always the way our system works, the way our bureaucratic system works, where the speed of weapons procurement works. We're always a decade behind in fighting the last war, whereas China, we have what did Rumsfeld say? You go to the war, the army you have. We have the army. China's building an army specifically dedicated to defeating the United States of America. That is their strategic outset.
And that is terrifying to think of for a couple of reasons. I mean, Matthew Broderick saunters up to the computer and it just goes, and specificity in combat is pretty important. A good example of that is Rulon Gardner. So there was the best athlete, arguably, who ever lived is a guy named Alexander Karelin. Terrifying. Wrestler, didn't have, I don't believe, a single point scored against him in like a decade. I think it was 2 or 3 golds where he would launch 300-pound guys. He was absolutely terrifying. But Rulon Gardner, who was this kind of, fat, relatively unimpressive American compared to the accolades of Alexander Karelin, had been watching him for said decade, figuring out how to defeat this guy. Karelin needs to figure out how to beat all comers. Rulon Gardner needs to focus on how to beat this one guy. And you see it in the animal kingdom. You'll see certain animals, right? It's like rock, paper, scissors, where this animal will beat this animal because it's developed some kind of a defense, but then it loses to this animal and it'll surprise you. Being able to specifically game plan gives you an advantage. If one person is focused on many adversaries and one adversary is building up its capabilities while hyperly focused on you, that's a terrifying thought. And he was right, which, that guy was terrifying. He would carry a refrigerator up and down stairs. Most Russian thing ever.
Is your refrigerator running? Yes. Well, mine is climbing stairs.
That's right. If it is running, I will catch it. I will catch it and bring it back to you on back.
Yes. Do you have a long table I can carry?
That's right. I need to carry very long table. This is non-negotiable.
So this goes to Hegseth now. Okay, was it all talk? Or did he stick to his guns and make China the priority? He did.
Make no mistake, Beijing is investing and operating in this region
for military advantage and unfair economic gain. We do not seek war with China. And war with China is certainly not inevitable. We do not seek it in any form. But together, we must prevent war by robustly and vigorously deterring China's threats in this hemisphere.
By the way, while I was rolling that clip, there was the Chiron on CNN. Hegseth, I think it's
Defense Secretary on Defense.
Yeah, Defense Secretary on Defense. It was some kind of little like Gene Shalit.
They want him gone.
Yeah, they're going after this guy aggressively. Again, because he's delivered on his promises, and that's a threat.
Because he's focused on China.
Yep. Well, the steps that he's taken include, by the way, calling out China, this, in the Panama Canal, which a lot of people weren't even aware of. He traveled to Manila, said that the United States Philippines would actually be enhancing their alliance and working together to deter China. He said that the United States would make Japan a, quote, war-fighting headquarters to deter China. And he constantly refers to Beijing as communist China. He makes it very, very clear. He's done about everything that he can do thus far. He's been very clear on DEI. He's been very clear on increasing morale and making us an efficient fighting force. And he's been very clear as to his stance on China. So the left wants this guy out so badly, and I bet you CNN is going to do it. You'll see it in real time. Look, nothing up my sleeve. It's
when they get back
12:15 Eastern that they are actually making up stories regarding Hegseth. Right now, they're even claiming that the White House is actively trying to replace him.
Right.
Well, let me tell you how we, at least to the best of our knowledge, know that's made up. Because President Trump addressed this.
Secretary Hegseth using Signal to discuss those military plans?
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a report this weekend that he used it in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media.
Love the music in the background.
Try finding something new. I mean, I hear they're doing that whole thing again. Here we go again. Just a waste of time. He is doing a great job.
Why do you still have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job. Ask the Houthis how he's doing. Ask the Houthis how much dysfunction there's none. Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him. We have the highest recruitment numbers in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees. He was put there to get rid of a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing. So you don't always have friends when you do that.
Gosh, the left is just so catty. Who do they go to when they try and find dirt on or make you dislike someone? Ex-employees and ex-girlfriends. That's what they did with Pete Hegseth. That's what they do with Donald Trump. Look, this person left. Yeah, maybe they were fired with cause.
Yeah.
This person doesn't work with them. Maybe he's a former employee for a reason. His ex-girlfriend, maybe she's an ex for a reason. It's the least credible source, often in court, because of the motive.
It's one of the biggest criticisms of his first term, too.
Right.
Oh, look how many people he fired.
Yeah.
Why resurrect?
Good, right?
Didn't he say he was going to fire a lot of people?
Yeah, I think that was.
Oh, that's right. Another promise delivered. Hey,
exactly.
Ask me again why they're not going after Pam Bondi with the same vigor.
Right.
And by the way, I will even say Kash Patel.
Yep, I'm throwing him in right now because we're not seeing a whole lot. I hope it's because he's doing so much behind the scenes.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was just trending. I don't know if this was recent. Mission Control, you can let me know, where he was calling for the abolishment of the Fed. That was trending. Kash Patel made some comment on the Federal Reserve. It's like, okay, I got it. Epstein.
Wasn't yesterday
arrests the January
we gave
6th?
You that already. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
There was a binder.
Hold on, but wasn't the
Instagram host showed it to you? What do you want from me?
Yeah. It was for those who celebrate the binder anniversary. It was like the 1 month anniversary or the 2 month. I can't remember what it was now. It's time flies so fast.
Yeah, and look, if they're doing things behind the scenes, I understand it. It takes time.
Talk to us about it.
But it's one thing to tell everyone, hey, this takes time. And it's another to say, hey, some mistakes were made, but these are mostly good people here. And by the way, I'm paraphrasing. And to promote, what was the name of the guy who was one of the January 6th investigators, prosecutors who just got promoted at the FBI? I get it. Look, in other words, hey, there could be stuff going on behind the scenes, and I still think that they're good people. But as far as promises delivered that are quantifiable, Pete Hegseth is in a different league. So if he can do it, even with some missteps and Signal, we get it. Why can't everyone? in this cabinet. Yeah, Noodles.
They just sent in two things. First off, a screenshot that you were referencing with that.
Defense
CNN.
Secretary on the defense, yeah.
And then Lane just sent me the Kash Patel clip. It's 25 seconds if you
Okay, and is it recent?
It is from...
Because this was trending this morning.
Where's the date on it?
Well, hold on a second. I'll let you look at that, and let's right now look at what they're saying about Hegseth on CNN. You're seeing this in real time. Let's watch it.
Very quickly. Now, as you may have noticed, the media likes to call it chaos. We call it overdue.
They're going to have a panel,
How are the men and
panel
women
talking about how it's chaos. Watch.
To this call, well, I can tell you personally, it's going better than we could have ever expected.
That's one take. The reality is that some of the most biting criticism is coming from the Secretary's own, now former top aides. As for the White House,
now, let's bring on some disgruntled ex-employees who didn't share his vision.
About Hegseth's shrinking inner
Here's this
circle,
bitch.
and you see Natasha joins me now. What are you learning?
What are you learning? She doesn't work there anymore.
I would note that it's not the media describing it as chaotic here at the Pentagon.
She's a
It's
correspondent
actually,
who's going to relay the information from a disgruntled ex-employee. At what point can you say, hey, shut up, let the men talk?
Politico earlier this week saying that Secretary Hegseth was fomenting this kind of chaos at the Pentagon.
It's not the media, it's somebody from Politico.
Quote, full-blown meltdown in the front office here of the Secretary of Defense. And so you kind of get a sense from that how his own former senior advisors and officials are starting to question his judgment here. And we're told
Is that a surprise to anybody with the word former at the front of the description?
And how long were they in that position? Former, he's been in the position for 2 months?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Were they there before and then he took over and then he said, okay, you're not good at this, you're out. And they go, he sucks.
Yeah, were these people who were many of whom the root cause of the problem he was describing before he got the job that he had to deal with, where they wanted to perpetuate the problem? It would be just like saying, well, it turns out that his ex-wife, or turns out that his ex-girlfriend had quite a few disagreements with him and does not share his views on their relationship. Back to you, Dana. I expect former to disagree.
Disagreement number one, he left me.
Let's hear what she has to say. I'm sure it's useless.
And it remains unclear why he needed to disclose that information on the commercial messaging app instead of through
commercial
system,
messaging
Dana.
app.
And Natasha, you're also learning more about Jennifer Hegseth's role at the Pentagon.
Exactly right. So Jennifer Hegseth, Pete Hegseth's wife, she was in that group chat on Signal where he shared that information about the military operations. And that really underscored kind of the outsized role that she has played writ large through Secretary Hegseth's tenure as Secretary of Defense so far, and also even before that during his confirmation process.
She sounds to me like she's an empowered woman who he trusts.
You would have praised Obama or Michelle Obama for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You did, actually.
He's had with his foreign counterpart, which was Defense Secretary John Healey, British Defense Secretary John Healey here earlier this year at the Pentagon. And so she has very much been a very trusted advisor to Secretary Hegseth.
Tell me where the problem is.
To rely on very, very closely, especially as his inner circle has dramatically shrunk in recent weeks. Dana.
Natasha, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. And big changes may be coming to the ingredient list of food you buy at the grocery store.
Wow, think about that. That entire report. This is how you know they're ginning up some controversy. Dana Bash played a clip. Let me walk you through this. Pete Hegseth, right? He was offering commentary, his perspective. Cuts back. Well, that's one way to look at it. Let me have a correspondent who cites sources from Politico, from former advisors and or employees who are disgruntled with him. Also, he trusts his wife.
That's exactly what just happened.
I know.
I never thought I'd see two empowered women on CNN Feminist Network come on and bash somebody for taking the opinions of his wife.
Well, here's how you know. Well, here's why. Okay? Dana Bash, whoever that broad was, and Pete Hegseth's wife. Who's prettiest? Now you have your answer. Of course they'll bash
No, I just couldn't believe this. I thought you were empowering women. One, she has a family with him, and she seems to be doing that pretty well. And he's like, hey, honey, why don't you come along? Why don't you be a part of the process? That's fantastic. And instead of going, Pete Hegseth is doing a good job of including his wife in the process and bringing her along and listening to her opinion because it matters. They're like, I can't believe that they're going to take advice from her.
Sit down and shut up, woman, says CNN.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like a smart woman, but man, she wears a lot of makeup.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'd like to know what she looks like without all the work done. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.